Good afternoon, Congresswoman, Congressman. Thank you for holding this hearing. I am Debra Ness, President of the National Partnership for Women and Families, and for more than 3.5 decades, we've been working on issues important to women and families. And we're proud of our history as the organization that led that 9-year campaign for the Family and Medical Leave Act. And today we lead a coalition of more than 200 groups who are working to defend and expand the Family and Medical Leave Act. As everyone has noted, this is the 15th anniversary of the FMLA, and in our mind, its enactment was truly a watershed moment for working families, because it was more than just a law. It profoundly changed our culture and our expectations of the workplace. And it has demonstrated that family-friendly policies are good for businesses as well as for workers and their families. Many of us here today, but most particularly Congresswoman Schroeder, were instrumental in winning the passage of the FMLA. We overcame a lot of scare tactics. Businesses claimed that the law would be the end of them. But 15 years later, the FMLA is well established and businesses have flourished. And it's important for us to remember those scare tactics when we talk about expanding the law, because opponents will use them again and again. And we have to keep in mind that they are today what they were then, unfounded claims. And if we summon the courage to move forward, we will prove once again that family-friendly policies work well for everyone. This anniversary is especially sweet for us because it's also the year that marks the first time the FMLA has been expanded. And Congresswoman, thank you for holding the important hearing last fall that helped lead to the fact that today military families can use the FMLA for up to 26 weeks to take care of soldiers injured in combat. We're thrilled that this law has been expanded to help families that have sacrificed so much for our country. But at the same time we celebrate that victory, we're also deeply concerned about efforts to chip away at the progress we've made. As we all know, comments are due tomorrow on the regulatory changes proposed by the Department of Labor, and we, of course, will submit comments, and once again will put forth comprehensive evidence that the FMLA is working well. In fact, it's estimated that FMLA has been used approximately 100 million times by workers since its passage. And for the most part, the FMLA is accepted by employers, and in the department's own words, quote, they're pleased to observe that in the vast majority of cases, the FMLA is working as intended. Yet the changes that are proposed, in our mind, really begin to upset the careful balance that the FMLA strikes between the needs of employers and the needs of workers. If the regulations are enacted, workers will find that they have to give more notice, they have to provide more information, they have to have more medical examinations, and they have to respond to employer requirements in a shorter time frame. Employers, on the other hand, will have more time to respond to requests for FMLA leave and more ways to delay or deny it. We're especially concerned that the regulations will make it more difficult for workers to use their own earned paid leave while they're on FMLA, and that it will increase the direct contact that employers have with their employees' medical providers. So we believe these proposals actually go in the wrong direction. Instead of limiting employees' access to family and medical leave, we should be exploring ways to build on it and to extend its protections to more families. Right now, as we all know, about 40% of workers in this country aren't even covered by the law, and millions more workers who desperately need to use it don't take it because they can't afford to take unpaid leave. So there are many things we can do. We need to expand the FMLA so that it covers all workers. We need to make it possible for workers to take time off for critically important things like meeting with the child's teacher or obtaining needed services to deal with domestic violence. We should be able to allow workers to take time off for other family members like grandparents and siblings, adult children, domestic partners. And as Ms. Hunt just pointed out, we need to fix the FMLA so it covers flight attendants. But perhaps most urgently, we need to provide some kind of income support for workers when they take leave. You know, so many lawmakers speak passionately about building a nation that values families, but millions of workers can't take care of their families because they just can't miss a paycheck and still manage to make ends meet. We can change that. California was the first state to pass a paid family leave law. Washington State last year became the second. And I think it is really exciting that this week, New Jersey becomes the third state. But we can't wait for 47 other states to do the same. We need a national paid leave law. And Representative Woolsey, I know this is something that you are working on. I know you're aware that Senators Dodd and Stevens have introduced a bipartisan bill in the Senate, and that Representatives Stark and Miller are planning to introduce a companion bill here in the House. This family leave insurance bill really needs to be passed. There's just one more thing that I want to add here, and that is it's important for us to remember that FMLA coverage is limited to serious long-term illnesses. It doesn't help when you're dealing with a common illness like the flu, or you need to go for routine medical care like your mammogram or your colonoscopy. Millions of workers are out of luck when they need that kind of care, and that's because almost half of our workforce doesn't have a single paid sick day. They either go to work sick or they send a sick child to school because they don't have a choice. The Healthy Families Act, which has been proposed in both the House and the Senate, would guarantee workers 7 paid sick days a year in businesses with 15 or more employees. It's already working in San Francisco. It's about to become law here in the district, and we really need to adopt this as a minimum labor standard nationwide. So, in closing, I just echo something that Congresswoman Schroeder said. Our workplaces are terribly out of sync with the realities that working families face today. We don't, for the most part, in our families have full-time caregivers at home. We lag shamefully behind other countries when it comes to taking care of our families, and we can do better. So there's two things. Let's expand the Family and Medical Leave Act, and let's set a minimum standard for paid sick days for all workers so that workers don't have to choose between their families, their health, or their jobs. Thank you very much.